Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the fascinating evolution of Meta's V-JEPA AI models. It is a brilliant story of how artificial intelligence went from just passively watching videos to actively and deeply understanding the physical world we actually live in. If you've ever wondered how the robots of tomorrow are going to learn to safely navigate our homes and streets, well, you are in the exact right place.
So let's kick things off with a massive question that has challenged researchers for years. How do we teach AI to understand its environment without just blindly memorizing pixels? Traditionally, that is exactly what AI did. It analyzed the literal microscopic dots on a screen. But think about it. When you look at a tree, you don't memorize the exact color and shadow of every single leaf, right? So why on earth should our most advanced AI models be forced to do that? Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with rethinking video AI, then look at the big picture of V-JEPA, how V-JEPA 2 builds a world, how version 2.1 brings in sharp details, and finally, a quick summary of this whole evolution.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, rethinking video AI.
Okay, so the core of this whole thing relies on something called latent space. And honestly, this concept completely flips traditional AI training on its head. In the past, AI tried to recreate missing parts of an image pixel by pixel. It was basically like trying to blindly paint the exact brushstrokes of a hidden object without even knowing what the object actually was. VJPA uses a latent space. So instead of painting blind, it just guesses the core meaning. It predicts that a hidden object is, say, a dog running, rather than guessing the exact color and shadow of the dog's fur.
Think of it like the forest versus the trees. Pixel prediction wastes massive amounts of computing power on completely irrelevant, noisy details like the rough texture of tree bark, a slight shift in lighting, or just background static. Instead of asking the AI what color a specific tiny dot should be, V-JEPA forces the network to learn semantic latent features. It asks, what object or motion should actually exist in that space? By doing this, it develops a highly meaningful, genuine understanding of reality.
And the timeline here is just wild. In just 3 short years, the technology progressed drastically. We go from basic video representation in 2024 to successfully planning complex physical actions in 2025, and ultimately arriving at a highly detailed, dense world model by 2026.
Moving right along to section 2, V-JEPA, the big picture.
Let's look at where it all began. The original V-JEPA was a self-supervised model that utilized latent prediction without touching pixels. But the real secret sauce? 3D multi-block masking. To train this model, researchers didn't just hide tiny dots. No, they hid massive, continuous chunks of space and time across a dataset of 2 million videos. It's kind of like hiding entire scenes in a movie and forcing the AI to guess the plot. This totally forced it to develop a strong overarching understanding of action and motion.
But here is the catch. While V-JEPA developed excellent global understanding, like it easily knew, okay, a person is drinking, its local spatial features were incredibly weak. If you asked it where exactly is the hand or which specific pixels actually belong to the cup, it completely failed. It had the big picture, but absolutely none of the fine details. And you know, if you're trying to build a robot that needs to gently pick up a fragile glass of water, lacking local spatial awareness is a critical failure.
Which leads us perfectly into section 3, V-JEPA 2, building a world.
To fix those blind spots and build a much richer visual understanding, researchers brought in 4 massive upgrades. First, data scaling. They increased the data corpus by a factor of 10, jumping up to 22 million videos plus 1 million images. They also expanded the AI's brain to billions of parameters, increased the training time significantly, and critically, pushed for a much higher spatial resolution instead of just relying on longer video clips.
Now, these upgrades completely transformed the AI into an action-conditioned world model. By adding a secondary layer after the initial video pre-training, the AI actually learned cause and effect. It evolved from this passive viewer just watching a screen into an active planner. It could now predict the future and plan actions directly within that semantic latent space without having to generate literal, pixel-perfect images of the future.
And the efficiency here is absolutely staggering. Get this, 62 hours. With only 62 hours of robotic video data, the model mastered complex physical manipulation, like picking and placing objects. For context, previous generations of AI required thousands of hours of highly specific, repetitive task training to achieve anything even close to this. But because V-JEPA 2 already fundamentally understood how the physical world worked through its pre-training, it absorbed these robotic skills almost immediately. Plus, remember how the original model had absolutely zero language skills? Well, V-JEPA 2 successfully aligned the visual encoder with a large language model, and they did this without even retraining the encoder. This alignment effectively gave the visual brain a voice, finally unlocking powerful multimodal understanding. So now the AI could handle complex video Q&A as well as nuanced temporal reasoning.
But, of course, we've got another cliffhanger. Despite all this incredible global intelligence and robotics capability, the feature maps for fine details were still fragmented and noisy. So the big question remained, why was V-JEPA 2 still so weak at segmentation, object tracking, and precise localization?
Let's find out how they solved it in Section 4, V-JEPA 2.1, Sharp Details.
It turns out the root cause of the blurriness was in how the AI was penalized for making mistakes, what researchers call the training loss. Previously, the AI was only penalized for getting the hidden parts of a video wrong, so it completely ignored the visible parts and lost track of local boundaries. V-JEPA 2.1 fixed this by introducing a dense predictive loss. Now, every single piece of the image, every single token, is evaluated. Because the AI is graded on the entire picture, local structures and those sharp boundaries are finally preserved. Alongside that fix, they also introduced separate modality-specific tokenizers for images and videos, rather than forcing them through identical patch embeddings. But the absolute game-changer was applying deep self-supervision. This means instead of only grading the AI's final answer at the very end of its process, they evaluated it across intermediate layers. Think of it like a math teacher grading a student's scratchpad work along the way, rather than just looking at the final test score. This made the AI's core understanding exceptionally robust from top to bottom.
The results of these innovations are just profound. These dense representations unlocked high-performance segmentation, precise depth estimation, and highly accurate robotic navigation. The feature maps finally became spatially and temporally consistent. For example, instead of losing track of fine details, the AI can now track an entire dog, perfectly mapping the exact same semantic feature across every single frame of a fast-moving video. No more blurriness.
All right, let's tie this all together in Section 5, the evolution summary.
When you look at this evolutionary journey laid out side by side, the progression is incredibly clear. We started in 2024 with a model focused purely on video representation learning, struggling heavily with local dense features. We then evolved to V-JEPA 2, gaining robotics and planning capabilities to form a true world model, though as we saw, it still struggled with localization. Finally, V-JEPA 2.1 brought the whole thing together as a dense world model, achieving excellent dense features, flawless object tracking, and advanced multimodal reasoning.
So we've seen how removing pixel reliance and focusing on semantic latent space allowed AI to evolve from a passive observer into an active, highly precise planner. I want to leave you with this final thought. Now that machines can truly see, understand, and plan in our complex physical world down to the absolute sharpest detail, what complex physical tasks will these dense world models conquer next? Thank you so much for learning with me today, and keep questioning the future.